So in this little session, I want to talk through basically how you can make dramatic improvement in many different domains all at once. And one of the reasons why this is top of mind for me is that when I'm working with entrepreneurs who are either actively burned out or risking burnout, they're recovering from it, one of the things that becomes very apparent is that they've tried to run too many races all at once, and they've not actually deployed the resources effectively in any of these races. So what I mean is, if you're trying to improve your business, you're trying to improve your fitness, you're trying to improve your relationship all at the same time, you're really setting yourself up for a bit of a disaster. And that, unfortunately, is one of the reasons why so many people fail the whole resolutions game. And the real challenge is that, I mean, it's part of our nature. We want all of the things to get better, right? I mean, I imagine if you're honest with yourself, you don't move as well as you'd like. You're not earning as much as you'd like. And there's a lot of room for improvement in the depth of connection you feel with the people in your life. So if we could figure out these three things, the concrete details of your life would become dramatically better. But the problem is that you likely cannot improve all of them all at once. Now, I'm sharing my screen with you here because there are a couple of slides that I'd like you to take a look at to make some sense of this. And we can imagine that this curve you see here, this is indicative of progress in just about any domain. So this could be fluctuations in your weight. This could be, more accurately maybe, it's fluctuations in your rate of weight loss. This could be the amount that you earn in your business in any given month. This could be the kind of strength output you're able to put forth in the gym. And we can see that variation is inevitably going to occur in any complex domain. Now, the deceptive thing is, people will tend to put their attention at the best. They'll look at the peak and they'll say, man, I just want to make my best even better. That surely is the way that I can push the envelope and get the most out of this. So they go chasing after record PRs with the barbell. They try and add even more weight to the barbell. Or they go looking to improve their highest profit month. They say, I'm going to go and instead of making 15,000 a month, I'm going to make 20,000. And after that, I'm going to make 25. And after that, I'm going to make 30,000 a month. And the challenge is that by default, the best that you've historically ever performed in a given domain is the best that you've been able to perform in any given domain. And I know that sounds circular, but what I'm indicating here is that when we focus on making our bests better, we are really running a risky game because, by definition, your best is your best. It is difficult to improve on the best. And yet, that's where people's attention so often goes. Now, what the highest performers in any field will actually do is they will focus on improving their lows. They'll take a look at the worst performance in whatever the domain is, and they'll figure out how to effectively raise the floor. The terminology for that comes from Nick Peterson. But you raise the floor, you improve the lows, you make sure that the valleys don't quite bring you so low. So another example of this could be your mood on any given day. Rather than figuring out how can I be the happiest I've ever been, what we ought to be looking at for a sustainable approach to mental health is, how do I buffer against those days when I want to kill myself? Because if we can improve the lows in any complex system, the rolling average works in our favor. So if we could just make sure that this low point isn't so low, then the highs, they can remain what they are, but the average across time becomes higher and higher. This is especially important when we consider that there is a baseline below which you are falling on some days and above which you're operating on most days. So again, if you consider this, say, in the realm of your business's profit each month, this is fine, you're profitable. This is bad, you're losing money. This is okay, you're making a little more money. This is great, This is your highest performing month. Oh, and then right after that, you're in the negative again. So rather than make your high months even higher, if you can avoid losing money on any given month, your business is on average going to be more profitable across time. And the thing that most people forget is that it is far easier to improve your lowest performing experiences than it is to improve your highest performing experiences. Again, your best is the absolute best you can do. Your worst, however, is much easier to improve. So keep that in mind. I'm going to introduce a couple of other ways that we might take a look at this. These might seem like different concepts, but what I can promise you is that they're all hinting at the exact same situation. So we're going to take a look at a barbell distribution here, a bimodal distribution, as a way to understand this. There is, in any domain, a maximum recoverable volume, which is essentially the most that your system can handle and still tolerate. And there is a minimum effective dose, which is the barest amount. It's the difference that makes a difference. So for instance, in cancer treatments, there is just enough chemo to get the tumor of concern. And there is the most chemo that your system can tolerate and not kill you. There is the bare amount of exercise you could do to begin losing weight, or there is the most exercise you could handle before you fall apart. So this minimum effective dose is reliable. It is reliable, it gets the job done at a timeline that is satisfactory, and it does so with a minimum of risk. Anything above the minimum effective dose simply introduces risk. Now, the maximum recoverable volume is where you get the biggest upside, but it also exposes you to the most risk. Again, in terms of a chemotherapy treatment, if you're at this point, you're flirting with death, right? And maybe you need to really maximize the upside. Maybe you need to make sure there is no cancer left in the system. So you go the maximum amount. But again, there are risks when we try to work with the maximum, particularly if we're trying to do so in several different domains at once. Now, what a lot of people will do is they'll have all of their activities somewhere in the in-between area of maximum recoverable volume and minimum effective dose. So they're doing a bit more work than is necessary, a bit more than the minimum they could get away with. But frankly, it's not enough work to really drive a significant change. So the maximum recoverable volume, it's a lot of work. This is doing 5 days a week training and a caloric restriction and getting your sleep dialed in and doing all of this other stuff to drive a body composition change. Now, you could compare that with saying, go for a 20-minute walk once a day. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Then get back to me once you have those things in place. One of these is much easier to do. It won't have as much upside, but it carries much less risk, and it's much more reliable. So again, anything in between here is effectively wasted effort. It's more work than the minimum necessary, and it's not enough work to really capitalize on the upside that would be available. So what high performers will do is they'll work to take anything they have in here and move it toward making it reliable. So rather than be burning their energy stupidly by deploying their attention in a scattered, diffuse way, they're going to figure out what is the minimum effective dose in each of these things so that I can get it reliable at a satisfactory level. Then I can take all of this energy I've freed up and I can put it in the maximum recoverable volume for one thing at a time. One thing at a time. So let's say, for instance, your relationship. In order to keep your relationship with your partner at a steady level, maybe you know that you need one date night a week. That's the minimum amount. It's going to keep you two from resenting each other, fighting all the time, whatever the case is. And maybe you know that in your fitness, you need to be training 2 times a week and you get a half-hour walk in each day. Let's say that if you want your business to improve, you put the fitness and the relationships into the minimum effective dose. You do the bare minimum required to at least maintain your progress, to at least prevent backsliding. That way you can put all of your additional resources, your cognitive bandwidth, your cash, your time, your attention, into improving your business. You do the maximum recoverable volume there to get it to the next level. And then you figure out what's the minimum effective dose needed to maintain it at that next level. Now, I'll introduce another diagram with a somewhat related concept that you'll see factors in here as well, because the question is, well, which of these things do I focus on? My fitness, my business, my relationship? So let's look at system reliability as a general concept. In any complex system, you're going to have component parts that have varying degrees of reliability. And the overall system reliability, the overall performance, is going to depend on the combination of those factors. So if I have a system of 3 component parts, each of which is 90% reliable, if I combine those, the total system reliability is only about 72, 73%. Again, 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9. Let's say, for instance, that I have a light switch flipper, a magic light switch flipper that is 90% reliable. And my light switch itself works 90% of the time. And let's say I've paid my electric bill 90% of the time. I might think, well, hey, 90% effective, and that's 90% effective, and I paid the bill, so surely it's 90% effective. But basic math shows us that no, that total system of light switch flipper plus light switch plus electric bill is only about 73% reliable. What a lot of people will do is they'll just add in new stuff. So it's like, maybe this 0.9 is your fitness plan, and this 0.9 is your nutrition plan, and this 0.9 is your sleep hygiene. And you think, you know what, I really need to get my supplements dialed in. So you add that into, and it's only 90% effective as well. Every new thing that you add in, even if it's as reliable as what you're already doing, every addition to the system decreases the reliability of the overall system. And this, you just have to understand if you want to make progress in any given domain. You have to know that adding new things in, if they're unnecessary for the functioning of the system, it only decreases the overall reliability. Now, here's where this gets very interesting, because technology is almost 100% reliable. Maybe it's like 99% reliable. But human behavior, your behavior, it is way less than totally reliable. So let's say, for instance, that we have a component system, a 3-component system, where we have nearly perfect reliability, and then human behavior, 50% reliable, if we're being generous, right? So the overall reliability of this system, if you have something that's 90% reliable, 90% reliable, and 50% reliable, is only about 40%. That's not very good. Certainly not if you want to make a demonstrable improvement in whatever this domain is. Now, what a lot of people will do, and this is where I want to caution you against making your bests better, they'll put in a lot of work to drive this thing more near to perfect. They'll try and make the jump from 90% to 99%. And this is where, again, we're trying to make the bests better. And you can see that that works. It increases the system to 44% reliable. But this jump from 90% to 99 is a hell of a lot of work. Now, if you took that same amount of improvement and applied it to the least reliable part of the system, you have a significant increase In fact, this might not look like much. You might say, well, okay, so it's 44% reliable versus 47% reliable. What's the big deal? It's only a big deal when you realize that that is a 10% improvement compared to an 18% improvement from the same change, that 0.09, the same change, but applied to different aspects of the system. And you better believe that improving your lows is much easier than improving your highs. So if you had your choice, why wouldn't you want to do the easy thing that results in a greater total improvement? Probably because human nature is easily fooled. And we think that if we want things to get better, we have to make our bests better. But the concept of system reliability shows us that basic math makes clear our focus really needs to be on improving the least reliable part of the system if we have any say. So you could take a look at the various areas in your life. And in the next example, I'm going to work with the ideas of fitness, business, and relationships. So you could look at those things too, because I imagine you care about those things if you're here watching this. And you could rank order them for yourself. You could say, which of these is the least reliable part of the system that is me? You could take a look and see, which of these do I know is my lowest performing system or component of the system? Which of these is my weak link? And you could say weak link, second weakest link, and strongest thing. So you order those. And for this example, let's say you decide that your fitness, the way that your body feels, is your weak link. Rather than trying to improve all of these all at once, let's call this horizontal axis time and this vertical axis performance. Let's say they're all cruising along down here. You're going to figure out what's the minimum effective dose for your relationship and for your business, and you're going to keep that humming along at this level. Meanwhile, you're going to figure out what is the maximum recoverable volume for my fitness. What is it going to take to bring my fitness to the next level, to the level that really is going to satisfy my conditions for success? So you put everything you have into that. And then once it's up at that plateau, you figure out what's needed to maintain that. And you let the system stabilize for a bit, right? There's a little bit of time where you think, man, I can see my abs. I'm feeling strong. People are like actually treating me with respect. I feel confident. That's going to create some changes. And then maybe you say, you know what? It's really time that I get that level of connection in my relationship that I want. So what you do then is you keep your business humming along. It's the same thing. It's you posting on social media when you need to post. It's you taking the number of sales calls that you need. You're not changing anything there. You're maintaining your fitness up here, and you figure out, what do I need to do to get my relationship to the next level? And maybe you need to actually take a week off of the business and go on a vacation with your partner. Maybe you need to have that difficult conversation that you know is going to take a lot of work to restructure your relationship. Maybe you know there's that thing you've been sweeping under the rug that both of you know you need to talk about, and both of you have been too chicken shit or too exhausted to address. And all of this work is you addressing that. Whatever the case is, you're not doing anything with your fitness at that point. You're not doing anything with your business, or you're doing the bare minimum, let's say. You're not doing anything different. And you put all of this attention then into your relationship until it gets to that next level. Again, every level up in our lives is an active investment of our resources, our time, our attention, our energy, our cash. So we figure out how to bump the relationship up to the next level. Meanwhile, business is humming along, doing the same thing. Fitness humming along, doing the same thing. And then maybe you figure out, okay, now that I've got my fitness and my relationship where I want, it's time to improve my business. Then you take all the freed up resources you now have and you put them into your business on this curve upward, and you put everything you can into it. You hire a coach, a mentor, you hire an assistant or another person to handle sales for you. You hire a copywriter, whatever the case is, you invest what needs investing into the business to bring it up to the next level. And then you've got a new set of minimum effective doses for your fitness, your relationship, and your business, so that you can maintain yourself at this level moving forward. Now, here's the thing. This time axis, this could be as long or as short as you'd like. Each of these cycles maybe is only like 2 weeks, where you say, this chunk of time, I'm going to put 2 weeks to really dial in my fitness. I'm going to get the habits in place, the routines in place, whatever. Maybe it's 4 weeks, right? Because 2 weeks, well, it's pretty quick. You're not going to see a dramatic improvement necessarily, unless you're working with me, I should say. But if you're watching this, you might not be at this point, and that is your loss. But let's say that this is 4 weeks worth of work that you put in here. And then you take a week or two to stabilize, to acclimate, that sort of thing. And then maybe you say, the next month, I'm going to get my relationship sorted out. I'm going to put everything I can into that fitness business that they're going to maintain at their baseline for this month. And we're going to sort this out. We've needed to have these conversations for years at this point, and we've just been putting them off. And then you get that dialed in. And the next month you think, I'm going to figure out this business thing. I'm going to get my offer dialed in. I'm going to get my marketing message clarified. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get my business to this level. If you address these things in cycles, it does not take anywhere near as long to make an improvement as you think. The reason why you think perhaps that it takes a long time to see improvement is because you're hovering here and you've not actually gone for the maximum recoverable volume because you haven't been able to. You've been burning away energy in this middle area for so long with nothing fully reliable at the minimum effective dose and nothing fully gaining the upside at the maximum recoverable volume. But if you could just be patient, if you could give yourself 3 months to improve all these things, working one of these at a time, you would be amazed at the kinds of changes you can create in your life. You can, in the span of the first quarter of this year, you can in Q1 improve your fitness. You can improve your position in business, and you can improve your relationship. You can't do it all at once. But if you figure out what is the minimum effective dose, what is the bare minimum, the difference that's going to make a difference, you can move a couple of these things. And maybe there's other stuff you care about. Maybe it's your harp playing that you want to improve. Maybe it's your vocal performance that you want to improve. Maybe it's whatever, right? Pick 3 to 5 domains that you'd like to improve and figure out for each of them, what's the bare minimum to keep it at this level? What is the absolute minimum I need to do to keep it performing this way? And then you pick one of these domains, again, one of whatever you care to improve, and you figure out what is the absolute utmost I could give this thing. What's a time frame I can commit to for that? And then you put yourself to that. You invest everything you can, your cognitive bandwidth, your attention, your time, whatever. You figure that thing out. And then you bring it to the next level. And then you maintain the other things at the level they're at. And then when you've figured out how to maintain that thing at that level, you just pick the next thing. And again, if I were going to really make a strong recommendation, focus on improving the worst. Focus on improving the least reliable thing, because it will have a disproportionate influence on the overall system that is you. So let's say, for instance, that your business is okay, your relationship is okay, and your fitness sucks. That's probably having a disproportionate influence on the reliability of your system. So rather than improve then your business or your relationship, improve the fitness. And that will make the overall system of you much more effective. Or if your fitness is fine, your business is fine, but your relationship is a disaster, Don't worry about your fitness or your business. Make your relationship better. That will improve the overall system that is you. So hopefully this makes sense. You can see that so much of this goes back to this main idea and the sort of deceptive thing that people do where they focus on making their bests better. It's just because they don't understand the law of rolling averages. If they can make their lows not quite so low, make it so that they never have a negative month in their business, or make it so that they never have a night of binge drinking and eating shitty food when they're trying to get their nutrition dialed in, if they can make it so that they never have that blow up divorce sort of argument with their partner, if you can make it so that you never have those days where you are crippled with depression and thinking about suicide, all of these domains get better over time just by making the lows not quite so low. So with that, hopefully this makes it evident that there is so much more available to you than you might otherwise realize. The challenge is being very specific with what your links are and being patient enough that you could put things effectively on the back burner. You could figure out what the minimum is, and then actually devoting yourself to improving the things that matter. The other hard part is that if we hear all of this and we don't then apply it, we might need to be honest with ourselves and say, maybe I don't actually want these things to get better. Maybe it's actually okay for me that I'm living in pain every day. Maybe it's okay that I'm not earning what I want to earn in my business. Maybe it's okay that my relationship sucks and we kind of hate each other or tolerate each other at most. Frankly, if that's the case, I don't know what you're doing here. But if it's the case for you that you would like to move better, you'd like to feel better in your body, you'd like to earn more in your business, you'd like to do work that is satisfying and nourishing, and you'd like your relationships to actually be loving and deeply connecting, hopefully you can then begin to apply this to your own life. Now, with that said, if you'd like an outside set of eyes, or you'd like to rent my brain and at least have me as a thinking partner as you figure out how to implement this in your own life, feel free to reach out. Happy to have a conversation with you. You can find a time in my calendar. We can hop on Zoom if you want to chat about it. But you can see that having the right way of thinking about these things sets you up for a monstrous improvement in your performance with very little risk of burning out, very little risk of pushing yourself too far. And that, I find, for the highest performers is the most important thing. There's no question that you are going to have a remarkable career, that you know how to perform and produce. The question is whether you know how to avoid blowing yourself up. That, for a highest performer, is the most important thing. If you can buffer against those disaster scenarios, the low points, the rolling average is going to start to work in your favor. And this applies, look, even if you're not currently a high performer, if you are in that gray area where you're just kind of like fizzling about, nothing's really working as well as it could, this is how you create a high performance system for yourself. You figure out the weak links, you raise the floor on that, you make the lows not quite so low, and you trust that the rolling average over time is going to work in your favor. You'd be amazed at how quickly these changes can come about. Again, I've seen people go from kind of like zero, they're burning out, they're barely holding on, their business is faltering, their relationships are strained, their fitness is falling apart, they're injured, they're sick, to like remarkable world-class performance in the span of something like 3 to 6 months. It actually does not take a lot of time to make a quantum leap like this. You simply have to know how to think through and get a bird's eye view of your overall situation, and how to think in terms of systems, knowing that you and the world that you live in are both complex systems. So again, please implement this. Your life will become remarkably better. You will be much more effective for the people who matter. You'll be much better resourced to go do work that matters. And if you'd like the shortcut and you'd like to make sure that you're applying this at the utmost, reach out. Send me a message. I promise you, you are capable of so much more than your habits have led you to believe. And man, if you look around, what the hell reason do we have not to perform better? There is so much that the world asks of us. Most of us could be doing a lot better. And I think it's time that you do too. So with that, I appreciate you watching. I will look forward to hearing from you soon. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the comments, and we'll talk next time.